Okay, today we're playing a game on the Temple of Anubis. We're playing Symmetra the entire way through, and there is no SR for today's game because it was a placement game. Wonderful excuse to not do any video editing. It's been such a good week for not having to do video editing. Oh, I haven't had to pretend to be professional for like 3 entire days, and it's not going to start anytime soon. Also, we're on the console, by the way. Consider yourself forewarned. Let's start the game. So we've got to attack the Temple of Anubis first, which is very exciting. It's almost as exciting as having to defend the Temple of Anubis. Symmetra is not traditionally seen as a very good attacking hero, but I mean, you can do it. You can do it with anyone. Symmetra is one of those heroes that's like pretty annoying when played well also. So here's the deal with Symmetra. Left click, it's trash. The main goal is to just right click the people to death instead. The goal is just throw balls at them until they die, because it just simply got too gay from them. All the ball touching, too much for them. And given the average age of your Overwatch player, they aren't going to be able to handle a great deal of ball touching before their head just explodes, basically, and then they die. In real life and in the game, actually. So, we also go for the other traditional Symmetra play of throwing some turrets through the teleporter, and there you go. They get very surprised, and hopefully they die from it. The thing is, like, even in this kind of situation, the right click still usually ends up being better a lot of the time, because it's hard to compete with just clapping someone in the face for most of their health, really. They're buffing the left click, so maybe it'll even out now in the incoming days, but it's really hard to compete with just clapping someone in the face for most of their health, you know, and all they're doing is making it charge up to max damage faster. I do think they should do something to make the left click a little bit more appealing, because the right click is just, like, way better than the left click, and it has been like the entire time. So, other cool thing to do with the teleporter, other than just throw turrets at them, is you put the teleporter somewhere, wherever on the map you deem important, like, and then usually somewhere off to the side, and you start charging up orb, go through the teleporter, fire an orb at them, and then you come back over here, and then you keep doing like that general movement, firing orbs at them from multiple locations, and you annoy them to death, basically. And you can do some cool, like, sort of quasi-flanking stuff where you throw the teleporter off to, like, the side of them and then go through, throw some orbs at them, throw some teleporters at them. I mean, yes, but also throw some turrets at them, go through, throw some orbs at them as well. And if they aren't paying attention, they can just kind of end up dying. Especially if there's a flanker on the team, that kind of helps with this as well, because if you go through the teleporter, throw your orb at them, you know, rub your balls on them, and then Genji comes through and just, like, dashes straight through them, hey, they've died, they're dead, and that feels bad for them. So, cool, that's other cool thing to do with the teleporter, is, sort of play a little bit like Tracer, I suppose, when you go doing this blinking back and forth stuff to harass people and, like, kind of flanking with it. Not like hard flanking, you know. You're not going off and doing, like, Tracer, like, Genji-level flanking with them, where you go off behind them with the teleporter and then run up behind them and kill somebody and then teleport away. You know, you're not doing, like, that kind of stuff usually, but you sort of blink, you teleport behind them, to the side of them, what have you, and then fuck them to death, basically, with the orbs. You can do a lot of cool stuff with the teleporter, and this is the thing I've noticed with, like, really good Symmetra players, is that they use the teleporter to full advantage to do really, like, Galaxy Brain type plays, where you blink all over the place with your teleporter in these unexpected locations, and then just clock Mercy in the back of the skull with a turret and an orb, and she dies. And then before they even know what the fuck, you're over here now, putting a giant wall in the middle of the team fight, and then hooray, now my team's going in, and I killed their, and now I'm gonna teleport over here, and I'm gonna collapse their soldier to death, or Ashe to death in the near future, you know? Good times. Symmetra, like, the really good Symmetra players do some real, like, confusing watching stuff to people. So we've had the wall, and there's a question in the email, which is basically like, I'm not sure what to do with the wall. So here's the thing with what we're doing right now, is we're running at them ahead of everybody else. Symmetra's not a very good tank, so we kind of just end up getting murdered by the enemy team. And pretty quickly as well. We're just going in, like, way ahead of our tank line. But granted, we have the traditionally bad team comp of D.Va Roadhog tank-wise, but We can't really just run at them by ourselves as Symmetra. Also, Tracer's kind of been behind us, harassing our team for a while. I've heard her doing stuff behind us, and we haven't been super invested in dealing with that as we should be. So anyway, in the email, there was a question, was basically like, I'm not sure what to do with my wall. And basically, the goal of it is just to bifurcate the fight, where you put the shield through the middle of the team fight, and then your team, basically, all of your team can barrier dance, so they have like a permanent Reinhardt shield for them, the entire team fight, which can be very difficult to deal with. You also can try and initiate a fight with the shield, where you basically, like, put it in front of the enemy team, and then you can kind of run straight up to the shield, and if they want to actually contest you approaching, they have to go through the shield, which will put them further ahead than they want to be, or they stay behind the shield and wait for you to come through it, but then they're, like, huddled together in the back, which makes them vulnerable to, like, a graviton or something similar. It's one of those ultimates that benefits from being used proactively more than reactively. Even though it's a giant shield, I find using the shield in reaction to the enemy team starting some shit with you very rarely works out. The most value you get out of the shield is usually like when your team has the initiative and you use the shield basically to make it very difficult for the other team to stop you from going in on them, either by putting it in front of them so your team can like get right up on top of them, or just using it to like split the team fight in half so that or the enemy team in half, so that you can use the barrier to be very difficult to kill. So here's Tracer. Tracer's dead now. Look at that. Bam. To see, it's hard to compete with clocking someone in the face for most of their health, is it? Especially if that someone is very squishy like Tracer. I suspect that Tracer might actually end up becoming bad in the near future, because I've seen a lot of Ashe gameplay on the PTR, and Ashe can do some pretty sick burst damage to somebody that is relatively difficult to miss. Like, she's got like the precision on the Viper rifle and all that, but like her fucking sawed-off shotgun and the bomb, which you can explode by shooting it, does some pretty like guaranteed damage. And if you can headshot the Tracer, hey, great news for you. You killed Tracer, right? So and plus with like the fact that teams are so difficult to kill now, broadly speaking, anyway, I think that Tracer's actually going to end up being pretty bad in the near future, because you know, when you're really soft and somebody does like a lot of damage that isn't that hard to land, it ends up being rather difficult for you to do stuff. Plus, teams are generally harder to kill right now anyway. Also, even if like the Ashe can't kill the Tracer, she actually has some pretty fucking wicked movement. Like, the knockback on the shotgun can put you in, like, some crazy high places, so she'll have trouble killing Ashe regardless if the Ashe is paying attention. The moral of the story is Ashe is a sick hero, and I can't wait for her to come out, okay? That shit is gonna be my jam. Do not use shit as jam. It will make for a very poor morning's breakfast. Anyway, so we're up here, being annoying right now. Just like chucking turrets at them like that doesn't typically amount to very much, because they can usually break the turrets off relatively easily and without any kind of pressure being applied to them. So yeah, it's better to kind of like be chucking them during the team fight or where the fight's about to happen. Just like chucking them at the enemy team tends to usually result in like the turrets breaking with not much happening, because they can just kind of break them for free. But if a fight is happening around them, they have to choose to break the turret or react to the people fighting them. And anytime they spend, like, if they spend like a second breaking the turret in the middle of the fight, that's like an eternity in terms of team fight real estate. So it tends to be better to wait for the fight to start rather than just like chuck turrets at them. So I'm not down with just jumping right on top of the enemy team right now, because Symmetra's not really very good at getting out in this kind of situation, and Torbjorn came over here to try and murder us. He did a bad job of it, as we can see by the fact we're still alive. We may remain solidly unmurdered, but he did certainly try. We could have just stayed up there chucking balls at them, and Their team isn't super great at contesting, like, the Symmetra on the high ground. It'd basically be like D.Va comes up to try and push us off, but then we could just use our teleporter to leave, because it was up there with us. Just jumping down on them is, a risky maneuver for someone as slow and deliberate as Symmetra is. Someone, like, on one of the subreddits actually put it really well in saying that a good Symmetra outthinks her opponents rather than actually, like, outplaying them, strictly speaking, which, you know, is a very thin distinction to draw, but there is a distinction there, I think you'll agree. So we're going to do basically the same thing we did a second ago, and then just teleport away. So we could have come through the here's what we could do. We could start charging our orb right now, go through the teleporter, and then just chuck it down on somebody right as we arrive, rather than coming through and just chucking the turrets through. Because we could come through with the orb, throw it down at somebody, maybe it gets somebody, maybe it doesn't, whatever, but then we can do the same play we did right afterwards as well, but having also thrown an extra orb in there at the start as well, which is most of a squishy target's health, which is a big deal if you can actually get that to connect on somebody, like, important. Like, if you can get that to land on the Zenyatta right before the fight starts, he might feel pressured enough to pop Transcendence early, which can result in the fight ending badly for his team. So what happened to this one? It's going like, I see. So that is like cutting D.Va off from the rest of her team, and now we can use it to like come up here as well. It would be a little better if it kind of went, if the angle was a little bit different, where it kind of went like so, rather than like so. Because basically, if it went like through the middle of the bridge, you'd be able to stay shielded the entire way up onto the point, right? Whereas the way it is here, you have to like kind of go through the shield, out of the shield again, and then get back in the shield, or you can like hop around the side as well, but like, it's a little bit more inconvenient than just being able to run straight down the point. And there's a difference of it being a jet like here as opposed to here. But like, it would make it a lot easier to actually approach the point if it went like sort of through the middle of the bridge rather than cutting off to the side of the bridge over there. Because it just gives your team a little bit more space to work with as they approach the objective. So anyway, this fight didn't go particularly well for us. Generally speaking, our team is sort of lacking in consistent DPS, because the other DPS on our team is Sombra. And we've got, I guess, you know, we got D.Va and Roadhog as our two tanks, so, you know, those are two tanks that do damage, so it kind of evens it out a little bit, but I wouldn't consider our team very high in the DPS department. I thought Mercy was actually going to die there for a second. Big ol' ult battery D.Va. Honestly, I'm pretty sure it still works out to be more DPS to throw just mostly charged orbs in D.Va's back because of just the sheer amount of time it takes the left click to actually charge up. Remember when people thought that Symmetra was going to be mad overpowered because the left click fucking drained through shields and kept the ammo up? How naive all of those people were, and I in fact said that I don't think that's going to be the issue for tank players. It ended up not being an issue for tank players at all, because Symmetra didn't end up being significantly better unless you're a god, so... But man, the fucking level of the sky is falling that happened when that, like, from the tank players. Tank players are the most fucking bitch-ass Overwatch players of the lot. Speaking of someone who played a lot of tanks, by the way, before anybody comes at me with that, wow, if you played tanks, you'd understand. No, I played Reinhardt, like, since launch. Fucking tank players. Doesn't matter what change comes into the game. The tank players will find a way to be like, this is the end of tanking. This is it. All tanks are gonna evaporate out of the game and we're just gonna pick 6 fucking DPS. It has yet to happen at all. In fact, Reinhardt has remained consistently a very good hero the entire time, as has Orisa. So, except for, like, when Orisa first came out. But that was mostly just that people have this aversion to anything they don't understand, that doesn't work quite the way they think that everything should work, you know. People hate change, is the moral of the story. I know that's a startling revelation. But, like, fucking tank players will find a way. Any change being made to the game, they'll find a way. fucking Torbjorn change comes in, they're like, oh, more anti-armor business, eh? I see how it is. The tank players are gonna be dead again for the 5th time in the last 2 months. And yet, it still hasn't happened, has it? In fact, tanks still end up being picked, because it turns out that you can't just pick a team that's all DPS without your team comp being awful, so you still end up actually picking tanks. Well, it's harder to play tanks! Yeah, because there's shit in the game that actually punishes you now, so yeah, I guess that is inconvenient, having to play around abilities. Good heavens. I'm used to being able to play Reinhardt and just walk right at them holding right click, and they weren't able to do anything about it, because literally there just wasn't much in the game that dealt with that other than breaking the shield or killing Reinhardt. Now there's crowd control in the game, and like area denial effects, which makes it me have to think about how I approach the enemy team, rather than just holding down right mouse button and W. I don't understand. You want me to think about this shit? Can't be done. I push shift. And that's tank players for you. Well, what about Winston? No, they're the exact same way. Yet more shit that's just gonna kill Winston. I see. Winston's been, like, a consistently good hero since the game launched also, but, you know, whatever. Tank players are babies. As somebody who's played tanks, tank players are the biggest babies in all of Overwatch. And there's a lot of babies in Overwatch, as it turns out. As we established right at the start, the average age of your Overwatch player is somewhere in the region of 2 to 12. So, if even that old, I mean, that might be an over-exaggeration of the situation. But tank players, even lower by average. So we've ended up spending like a lot of time down here not really accomplishing anything. And we're looking for maximum uptime, really. Also, just like being under the bridge. If anybody looks under there and it's like, oh shit, there's Symmetra, that's it. They come down and they kill you, right? So, not a great position to be in, and very bad in terms of like overall uptime, which we're looking to maximize at all points in time. We want to be doing stuff constantly, if at all possible. So this angle's a little bit better because it actually goes through the middle of the bridge, which gives people a better angle to actually approach the point with. But doesn't block coalescence. It's a little bit difficult to get value out of the ultimate versus that team comp, because it's largely people that aren't that particularly that bothered about barriers, really. The biggest one that's an inconvenience to is Junkrat, but I mean, Junkrat's hardly going to be that concerned if he gets up in your grill. So often you'll turn around and find a Junkrat just like shoving grenades up your ass while you're not looking with his bare hands. Junkrat's probably into that, also. He seems like that kind of filthy degenerate. Nice. Easy peasy. Oh, and we got revived. Fuck. Didn't even get punished. Nothing to learn. I'm still pretty sure it ends up being better overall to throw the right clicks at them. To be granted, I don't know the exact mathematics breakdown on this, because that's for the eggheads in the lab to figure out. But I'm pretty sure the time you spend getting from low charge to high charge is just makes it so much less worth it than just throwing right clicks at them, because it charges up really fast and does a lot of damage. Maybe when the left click change comes in, it'll be better to do that kind of thing to a tank rather than chuck left clicks at him or right clicks at him, because I'm pretty sure it is better to chuck right clicks into the tank's back. I'm not certain on that one, and I'm not professional enough to do research into that one or do the math or anything, but it takes a long time to charge that left click up. Is the left click change already in the game? It might be. I don't know. I haven't really played that much Overwatch lately because I've been playing League of Legends, a also terrible game, but one that's been more engaging to me lately than Overwatch. When Ashe is in the game, though, I'm going to play a lot of Ashe because she looks sick as hell. To put it in academic terms, she looks fucking sweet. Her skins aren't that good, though. Tragically. Anyway, so, the attacking hasn't really been going super well, really, up until this point. And I put that largely down to our team comp not being particularly great. Yeah, there we go. That's how you do some sick Symmetra stuff. Unfortunately, that's a sad day right there. Unfortunately, we didn't end up chucking the turrets through the teleporter as well. They were just kind of sat over by the gate. But, it's very difficult for us to really do much team comp-wise against them. Basically, we're not particularly coordinated as a team. Like, if we actually coordinated and engage with, the EMP, sorry. Oh, fuck, Shit, I actually referred to it by how you're meant to refer to it for a second, which is simply not acceptable. Especially since someone went out of their way to point out to me that it's not EMP, it's EMP. And to that person I go, fuck you, it's EMP, because I said it's EMP. Because I've actually never been wrong in my entire life, as it would happen. Everything I say is 100% accurate, no lie. No lie. What didn't you just say a few minutes ago? You might be wrong about something? No. What are you talking about? I don't remember anything like that happening. So, yeah, if we actually coordinated and engaged between the EMP, the shield, the devault, and all that, then we could have probably actually made something happen. But as it is, it kind of just felt like a bunch of people were all off doing their own individual thing, rather than making any actual sort of coordinated effort to push in as a team. It just felt like it was 6 people going around kind of doing their own thing, which we obviously contribute to part of the problem of that by, nobody's free of blame when the team is off doing, when the team is not working together, no one's free of blame. Everybody is probably contributing to that to some degree. Either by being impatient and going off and poking by themselves and then getting picked and pulled down, whatever, being too passive, not actually following their team, splitting off from the team rather than going in with them, everybody always has some blame in that kind of situation. For us, we were kind of always off, just kind of doing our own thing on the side, jumping in way ahead of our team, and then dropping really fucking low right at the start of the fight, or dying right at the start of the fight, as seen in our first push in. So we were more eager than our team was to actually engage a fight most of the time, which ended up in us not really getting to capitalize fully in a lot of situations. So these, these could be a little bit higher, because generally speaking, you want the angle on the turrets to be as inconvenient as possible, which really usually means as high as possible behind where the enemy team is going to push in through, so that because if they just kind of come through a door and go, and break the turret, that's not as bad for them as if they have to go, because that's just a more laborious motion for them to make, and ends up taking them slightly longer to remove the turret, which is ultimately what we're looking for as Symmetra, is to inconvenience them to death. Which, is sort of the method that all, defensive heroes employ to kill people. May kind of just, hold you down and nuggies you until you die, that kind of arrangement. Torbjorn does that at you until you stop moving, and Symmetra's hey, are you annoyed yet? Hey, woo, no touching. Right? Like the fucking kid in the schoolyard, you can't touch me, here's my anti-magic barrier. Nothing can touch me now. That kind of arrangement. All the defensive, Bastion is just yeah, that's right, run at me one by one, come on, oh shit, fuck, oh god, they actually used abilities on me and came at me more than one at a time, shit, it's all over now. Just come at me one at a time, losers, you can do it, come on, you think you're tough, you think you're tough, Bastion's easy to kill, come on Reinhardt, charge me from all the way over there. That's how all the defense heroes are, really. Not that the defense category exists anymore, but the defensive DPS heroes are all basically about inconveniencing people until they get tilted and lose, which is not hard, because this is the Overwatch community we're talking about here. People fucking come into games looking for excuses to be tilted. Anyway, I keep thinking I can see something out of the corner of my eye. It's probably just a ghost. It's fine. assuming the ghost isn't in any way malevolent, which it could quite easily be, and most movies have shown me that in fact it probably is, even if it seems benign at first. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's been a bad day. It's been a bad day in the tangent department, hasn't it? So, playing Symmetra right now. Just sitting back, throwing orbs at them, inconveniencing them, as you do when you play Symmetra. Winston fucked that one up pretty badly, and now they all got emped down there. Oh, they're all purple as well. Oh, and tack visors happening. Our team comp is actually a lot better now. Like, look how much easier this is now that our team comp is actually, like, not awful, right? We actually have, like, a real tank. We have a consistent DPS. We have 3 DPS also, so, you know, that's not great, but, like, we have a real tank, we have a consistent DPS, it's so much easier suddenly. Look, isn't that incredible, how team comp can affect things like that? There's also the fact that they now have to attack Anubis, which is significantly harder than defending Anubis. Anubis has to be the game where the map, where I see the least amount of matches go multiple rounds. Like, out of all the maps, I very rarely see Anubis matches go, like, above 1-2. Almost never. It's just so hard to attack both of these checkpoints. The first checkpoint you can kind of snowball over, like, you know, all 2 CP maps, but, like, if you don't capture it in the first push, it tends to be really hard to capture it from that point, and then the second checkpoint is fucked, basically. So they're trying to start a fight right now. We just heard both their supports use their ultimate. So it's a fair enough response to just kind of throw the wall in the middle here for when they start this fight. The fight kind of ends up moving over to the point relatively quickly, which is not great for us, but is a fair enough response to be like, they're starting to fight, I'm going to use my ult now to make that more difficult for them. Did we have our teleporter? Could we have tried to, like, get out of this one a little bit more? Yeah, we could have just, like, immediately thrown a teleporter around the corner. Because we heard it now. So we could have just immediately pivoted, chucked the teleporter over there, and then gone through it. And we would be alive. We would be in a bit of an inconvenient location, but we would be alive, which is less inconvenient than being dead. Teleporting can get you places pretty quickly, so if we reacted in time, we could have gotten out of the way of that one. It's alright though, as we can see, the fight's still going well in our absence, because Soldier used tack visor, and some of them were already dead. So, great news for us. So, teleporter, yep, save some time. We still got a kill from all the way back here, good job us, all skill. Easy clap. So they've only got a minute left, and as you can see, there isn't much time left in the video, so place your bet now. Do we hold them, and the rest of the time is just like the end game stats, or do they capture this checkpoint and then roll over us really quickly? You know, it's not exactly unimaginable. They've only got to get 33%, 33.1%. So, they're starting to go right. We can reposition our turrets, and, you know, they're all going right, so I would start moving some turrets over there in anticipation of them pushing up through that way. Poor Tracer, she's not been having a good time on this front, has she? So, they really, like, they're really having a lot of trouble actually dealing with all of the things going on, because they've got us inconveniencing them, they've got Sombra inconveniencing them, they have to actually get to, and then they've got the Soldier and Orisa harassing them the entire time as well, while us and Sombra are inconveniencing them as much as possible. So they're having a lot of trouble dealing with all of the things currently happening to them. Right? Like, they're dealing with one or two of the issues, but they're not dealing with all of the issues, which has made it very difficult for them to actually get anything done. They did not manage to find a way to deal with all of the problems they were having, and the remaining problems they didn't deal with ended up fucking them over. Like, they mostly won that push where they killed us, but they didn't also deal with Soldier, so they ended up getting wiped towards the end of the fight regardless, because Tac Visor is a really strong ultimate, as it turns out. Damn, he got pretty bullied right there, huh? So there you go. I don't really have an overarching thing to say about this game other than that we were a little bit too aggressive while we were attacking, basically. There is another sort of vague question in the email, which is just mainly looking for your thoughts on positioning since her rework. Because my old playstyle of flank, wait for the enemy to push in, and then walk through the backline with Dragon Blade damage lock-on microwave isn't as viable now. Yeah, no. So Symmetra, you know, she still can benefit from the aggressive play because you can do some cool stuff with the teleporter. But you also benefit from passive play. So it's mostly about recognizing when you have an opportunity to go aggressive, like either because you can kind of just like work behind them, or because you can use your teleporter to do something cool. You'll usually use your teleporter to do something cool if you're going to do something aggressive. It's mostly about just sort of playing passively and inconveniencing them as much as possible, just kind of like hanging back with your team and just spamming them with shit until you see an opportunity to do something more aggressive and fun and like Galaxy Brain and all that. If the enemy team is, broadly speaking, people that are like take a long time to kill somebody, you can get away with being a lot more aggressive and doing like all kinds of like funky teleporter stuff because it's just difficult for them to kill you or the teleporter. So you can do like a lot of like very aggressive teleporter play if they have people that are not great at killing someone quickly. Which is hard to find most team comps these days, but if they're low damage, you can do a lot of aggressive stuff with your teleporter. Otherwise, it's mostly about like hanging back with your team and like chucking shit at them, charging up, you know, harassing them, making it difficult for them to push, just like being area denial, basically. And then when you spot the opportunity to go aggressive, you go and do something aggressive because you either just like ran up at them or you like did some funky teleporter stuff. Or you can do like stuff with the wall as well, which can kind of enable aggression. But there's a lot of like just waiting and then like doing cool stuff with the teleporter. The teleporter to me is like the thing that sets apart most like really good Symmetra players from everybody else. Is that just like when they're really good at using their teleporter to its maximum effectiveness, it's so fucking annoying to deal with because you got shit flying at you from all directions. There's Symmetra's everywhere, her team's going all over the place, she's going all over the place, there's balls, there's turrets, there's giant walls, there's a lot of shit that can be going on. So it's mostly about like optimizing like your aggression with the teleporter, to me, and playing passive the rest of the time. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm happy to answer. If you felt I answered your questions from the email inadequately, please let me know. I'll try to expand further. And I hope you found the video helpful. Oh, join the Discord.